Milo Yiannopoulos recently posted the following video on Facebook.
Ariel, no, help me, help me. Ariel!
A fan of Milo commented on his post asking, guessing this lifestyle is why you're not doing your promised podcast and losing subscribers. Where did our old Milo go? At Real Candiso has taken your seat. Milo proceeded to respond to his fan with a very lengthy comment. In the comment, he decried the loss of his platform, and he also blamed his fan base for the loss of his stardom. So I want to talk about those things first. Milo is concerned that he's losing his stardom, so he's blaming his own fan base for not supporting him and lifting him up and all that. But I just want to show you that his downfall was way before any of that, and the people don't like him anymore because of what I'm about to show you.
Catholic school, man, for a whole year. Cured me.
Well,
fixed me up good.
That's where you get your fine sense of right and wrong from. No, wait, let's not do that.
Well, with right and wrong as far as what is right and what is wrong.
With you?
No, I got lucky. They beat me a little bit.
What do you mean you got lucky?
Me a
you
little
got
bit.
unlucky. You didn't get that taste of... no, I said, just like I said earlier, if it weren't for Father Michael, I would have given far less good head. I mean,
there was a real Father Michael?
So much less. You know, he's going to get killed now. But
who was Father Michael?
I'm not... No, I bet...
There's a real dude? I shouldn't... Made you suck his dick? For real?
Don't make me. I was quite enthusiastic about it. I fucked my English teacher too.
How old was he at the time?
I don't know. He was quite young, quite hot.
Really?
Yeah.
And so that's where it all started? With Father Michael?
No, no.
Was that post the tranny?
Yeah, it was post. So I wasn't abused
queen?
as a child or anything like that.
So
it was quite a
you already had the fivesome, and you're like, this is all wrong. I need to talk to Father Michael. He's like, suck my dick and shut the fuck up. And you're like, religion is awesome.
You see, I really had no hope, did I? I was never going to end well.
Well, it seems like you kept stumbling into dicks. I mean,
I just
don't
kept
know.
falling on them through life.
I don't know what would have happened if a heterosexual man like me
30 years, I've just been falling on dicks.
Was in the same circumstances as you early on. I mean, obviously things would have went very different.
You always think I would have made a good priest. Do you think I'd make a good priest? I think I'd make a good priest.
Well, you make a good priest if you think the guy that made you suck his dick was a good priest. That kind of good priest.
He was a great priest. Honestly, like he was
he was good other than that?
I've never had a better singing tutor. He was great.
Singing teacher.
He got notes out of me I didn't even know I could produce.
Well, he worked your plumbing.
Shattering the chandeliers, kind of.
But was he good outside of what he did? Like, was he a good religious scholar? Was he a good teacher?
I think he was just a parish priest.
In that segment, we got to see one of the big dominoes that caused the downfall of Milo Yiannopoulos. But I think if we set that aside, this was an inevitable thing anyway, and I want to discuss that. In Milo's response to his fan, he stated, "I almost single-handedly ignited the current debate on free speech on campus, and no one ever matched my ability to draw attention to these issues." In the first part of that, you can tell he just wants to take complete ownership of the free speech movement and claim that he's the one who started it, but he can't. And then in the second part of that, he claims that no one's ever matched his ability to draw attention to these issues. Look at Jordan Peterson. He's been talking about these issues for decades at this point. He has a huge following, and he's making waves unlike Milo is. Milo's been on the Dave Rubin Report, and so has Jordan Peterson. If you look at their viewer count talking about the same topic, 978,000 for Milo. And then Peterson, he has 3,897,000 views. So I don't think that this problem for Milo was started by the pedophilia thing or all the protesters or any of that. What happened here is there's a huge difference in quality of content between the two. So Jordan Peterson's a professor. He goes in depth about the topic of free speech, and he isn't divisive necessarily. Now, people don't agree with him, but he's unlike Milo. He's not a provocateur. He doesn't just make money off of, saying fuck your feelings to people in a talk or whatever that he gives. Peterson's trying to bridge the gap. So I want to show the differences between the two.
The thing about free speech is that, like, I'm not a free speech advocate, let's say. I'm a true speech advocate, which is to say that I believe that people should say what they believe to be true. I think that's your obligation. It's also your right, but it comes with an obligation. But I don't believe that true speech is possible without free speech, because you're just not very good at thinking, and so you have to stumble around when you're first formulating ideas and wander into territory that's not necessarily productive and manifest your biases, and in short, you have to be a fool. And the only way that you improve upon that performance is by, well, first of all, stumbling through it to begin with, and then second, by observing carefully what sort of reactions you're getting and having a dialogue around it so that you can start to sharpen up your ideas and improve their focus and find out where you've made a mistake and all of those things. So a lot of what's necessary with regards to thinking is the freedom to make mistakes, because what, are you going to do it right the first time? I don't think so. And you know, that's why for Carl Jung, for example, the fool was a mythological precursor to the hero. The trickster is a mythological precursor to the hero, because unless you're willing to stumble around badly to begin with, you know, and to be a fool when you first start doing something, which is always the case when you're learning something new, then you're not going to make any progress. And so practically speaking, free speech has to be as untrammeled as possible so that people can be wrong and they can be biased and they can still express their opinions, including their darker ones, and then allow themselves to be subject partly to improvement by the world, because if you say things that are too stupid and then act them out, the world smacks you a good one. But there's also the social intermediaries, the other people that you're communicating with, who will also do the same thing. You know, and we're always broadcasting information at each other, constantly trying to shape each other's behavior. And what we're trying to do is to bring forth from other people that which we would like to see them manifest. And so there's an implicit ideal as well that people are broadcasting at each other all the time. And there's tremendous social pressure, generally speaking, to manifest that implicit ideal as closely as possible, because otherwise people disapprove of you or lack interest in what you're saying or criticize you or and so on. And you have to be allowed to be exposed to that kind of corrective feedback, because otherwise you drift and you become subject to your own idiosyncratic insanity. And I mean, I've seen that very many times in my clinical practice, because, well, first of all, I have some isolated people that come to see me and all they do is talk. I just listen, I mean, because they don't have anyone else around and they need someone to run their narrative by to keep their minds organized. They can't do it themselves, and they can't do it without listening to themselves talk even, because for most people talking is how they think, and talking socially is even more how they think. And I mean that literally, I don't mean that metaphorically, and I think that's true for almost everyone.
I've lost it. What was the question? Tell me what the question
Do you
was.
think society is blurring the lines between what is a
Oh, yeah.
and what is not?
Sorry. I had to have too much coffee. It just makes my brain skittish. Yeah, we've got this blurring of the lines now between what is offensive, harmful. You know, I'm a free speech fundamentalist. I think that people should be allowed to experience and listen to everything. I think you should be able to read whatever you want. If that's, you know, My Little Pony or Mein Kampf, I don't care. I want you to be able to read everything. I would choose My Little Pony, but whatever. I want you to be able to think about anything and express any opinion you like. You know, when people get censured for that opinion in public, that's the system working as intended sometimes. I want people to be able to watch any movie they want, play any video game they want, read any book they want. I want total and complete cultural freedom. That is not what the left believes. The left wants to control you, wants to control your life, wants to lay down the law about what you can do, and doesn't just disapprove of you. It doesn't just believe that you are problematic, but it also wants to actively ban you from even accessing certain things, because those things could be, you know, nebulously harmful in some way they can never explain. Well, there is no respect in which a couple of jokes about lesbians on stage this evening endangers student safety. That's preposterous crap. Some people won't like the jokes. Don't show up. If you don't want to listen to stuff like this, don't come. But you have no right to control what other people can listen to. You have no right to lay down the law on what other people can experience and what other people can enjoy. And so when the left mischaracterizes things that it doesn't like for a variety of bogus and bad reasons as in some way harmful, the best response is to laugh.
There is a difference between the quality of the conversation that these two are having with their audience. So one thing that sticks out clearly to me is Peterson's able to discuss the topic of freedom of speech without making it a purely political issue. Whereas Milo just can't help himself, because I mean that's kind of his nature. Peterson talked about the trickster in his video there that I showed you. Milo's the trickster who just never decided to become the hero. So he just kept doing the divisive bullshit, and then here he is now. Peterson can make things political sometimes, and I want to highlight the difference between the ways he makes it political versus Milo.
bad as that is and rife with conflict as that is, the alternative is to separate, as you pointed out, into two camps that don't talk.
Yes.
And the thing is, the consequence of not talking is that you fight. That's the end game. Because the only way you can stop from fighting with other people is by negotiating with them. And, you know, one of the things that's also interesting, and this is partly why Silicon Valley leans to the left, is that a fair bit of your political preference is determined by your biological temperament. It's strongly influenced. So if you're a creative type who's kind of disorderly, then you're likely to be on the liberal left end of the distribution. And if you're a non-creative type who's orderly and especially if you're orderly, then you tend to be on the right wing end of things. And so, well, why is that? Why do those variations exist? Well, they exist because some of the time your best strategy is to do what other people have done and shut the hell up and just do it. Run the algorithm, right? The pathway's already laid clear. It works. Stay in the damn rut and move forward. Okay, so that's the conservative approach. And when things are going right, it's the right approach. The problem is that sometimes it's not the right approach because something has shifted. And so something new has to emerge. And so then there's a bunch of people who are adapted to the new. And those are the entrepreneurial and creative types. And of course, they dominate Silicon Valley because it's a very entrepreneurial, what would you call it, geography. And so they're going to lean to the left. But they have to understand, people have to understand that the left and the right need each other. The liberals and the conservatives need each other. Liberals start companies. Conservatives run them. And the problem with the conservatives is, well, they can only run a company in one direction because they're conservative. They don't think outside the box. But so if the company is working and the product line is good and everything is stable, like hire some conservatives because they'll maximize efficiency and they'll move down that track. But if the track is no longer going in a good direction because something's changed, the environment's changed, well, then you got to bring in the creative people. And so we need each other. And the only way that we can survive the fact that we're different and the fact that we need each other is by continually talking. We have to talk constantly. It's like, well, how much of what we're doing should we preserve versus how much of what we're doing should we transform? And the answer is, well, we don't know because the environment keeps changing. So what do we do about that? We talk.
I tried to find a clip of Milo that was similar to the one that I showed you of Peterson just now, but he doesn't have content like that. So instead, I'm going to show you a video of his typical modus operandi.
Newsweek is expressing pleasure, whether it's Schadenfreude, whether it's whatever kind of pleasure. It is Newsweek. Newsweek, of all places, right, is expressing explicit pleasure at the deaths of a particular ethnic group on the basis of their skin color. That is a reality of American media. What else do they want? I mean, where do you go from there?
Well,
if they
where they'll go from there is wherever else they can find a group that they can crow over their destruction, which will be a white group, without a doubt. Let's just be frank about that.
But I mean, like, if it hasn't given people pause by now, if the editor of that story, the writer of that story, the person who tweeted it, the other 6 people who were aware of its existence before it went from, you know, an idea to a printed article, to a published article on the Newsweek website, if it hasn't reached any of those people that they should say, what the fuck are we doing? It's not going to, is it? I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, you know,
you know what it is?
You could have white people hanging from trees.
It's a trial balloon.
Not to put too fine a point on it.
Yeah, it's a trial balloon. The left does this continually. They float stuff up and see if they can get away with it.
And once it's done, and once you've established that norm, the rest can follow suit.
Overton window moves.
And some other publication will take the mantle on of the next trial balloon. And then you've got...
And it's a continual escalation to see how much anti-white hatred can be generated from the left. And the left, of course,
people will tolerate before they snap.
Yeah, the left morphed from class baiting to race baiting.
I don't think Milo lost his viewership because of some protesters at a university campus. In fact, he used to claim that they were making him more famous, and I agree with that, actually. He's right. That was why he got famous, is because of those people. But he can't blame them for this. This is all his doing, and people are moving into the space and having better conversations. And so on that note...
Madam, I'm grateful to you for coming, but to be quite honest with you, fuck your feelings.